Thank you for taking the time to join us at the Oxford to Cambridge Pan-Regional Partnership Pavilion.
It's not just about the brilliance of Oxford and the brilliance of Cambridge. Innovation-led, R&D-led, you are in the right region of the UK.
I believe very strongly in this magic glue, the connectivity. There is no better place to live and there is no better place to invest.
We need partners that can work with us in investment into that energy sector so that we can start to open up new markets and we can start competing from UK in that kind of global context.
It would be remiss of me not to mention sort of the jewel, if you like, in our particular area, which is Silverstone. It's not just the sort of tourism side of that, but it's the sort of investment potential, if you like, but in the high performance advanced manufacturing sectors as well.
This map here illustrates the scale and the depth of the ecosystems on research, science and technology, and it is amongst the leading edge globally.
There are those places where productivity levels are perhaps below average, where we can try and use infrastructure to try and sort of change the trajectory of growth. And then there are those places that are performing well in productivity terms, where infrastructure is acting as a constraint on economic growth. And I think the Oxford-Cambridge region falls squarely into that second category.
When I ask our team what are we doing, the answer is we're improving the quality of life for people who live between Oxford and Cambridge, and most importantly, we are driving economic growth, not just for the region, but for the whole of the UK.
This is not about the future, it's about people that are here in the region, making sure that they can collectively benefit from the scheme that is coming and how they can connect into it.
That's quite simple. I thought that was, I'll get the train to Cambridge when I first arrived. Oh no, there isn't one. You have to go to London and back out. You know, how ridiculous is that for that region with that wealth across the region?
But ironically, the Oxford to Cambridge partnership has nothing to do with Oxford and Cambridge. By linking those two together, you immediately get a critical mass of activity where we can compete as a supercluster.
East-West Rail as a scheme has long been wanted by the region. We need to continue to make sure that the investment is coming, but with it, benefits for everyone who lives and works in our region. For communities directly on the line, but also people further away.
How is nature catered for, and how do you know that it's been a success?
It's probably a really difficult one to answer in the short term, but what's probably really important is to set those sort of key KPIs that you want to see in maybe 20 years' time.
I think you're right that data-wise, it might take some time, but I think there is such an immediate impact of having nature, biodiversity, flora, fauna near you, especially with mental health and well-being, as well as sort of tackling climate change.
Climate change is happening. How do you understand the risks on property, and how do you adapt for the longer term?
Previously we were in a reactive world. I think now we need to be in the proactive world.
Working together, we can, throughout the different organisations and partners involved in attracting inward investment, is absolutely critical to UK PLC.
I believe very much in the partnership between government and the public sector, that is, and the private sector. And I felt the industrial strategy and the sector deals that came from it were very much a blueprint for that.
It's not just about coming to the show, it's about what we achieve as outcomes. So quite frankly, we've thought about it as a big sales pitch, because that value we get from meeting such great people, forming connections and renewing friendships and relationships is really key.
While we share many development opportunities, we're being held back by acute limitations in our electricity infrastructure. Our transmission and distribution power grids are pretty much maxed out.
What we need to work out is what can we do behind that grid system to reinforce it? What can we do as a geography to think about resilience?
It's very much about that partnership working with everybody in the industry to really understand what's going on.
Statements that give you hope. If we do this transition right, we will have halved energy use in the UK, whilst, important thing, enhancing our quality of life. So what's not to like?
And Bicester Motion is already home to many of the leading brands and businesses operating in the new technology sphere. For example, Polestar, McLaren Formula E, and Zero Petroleum, as I mentioned, are busy making synthetic fuel out of water and air.
So here's the route. It's an existing railway line and it would connect the most densely populated part of Oxford. We've already raised £4.6 million.
Leeds is at the heart of the Golden Triangle, which, as we all know, is the region that has attracted more foreign direct investment than anywhere else in Europe. But of course, most of it has gone to Oxford and Cambridge and not the heart. So that's what we're aiming to change.
So to supply a skills need for the fast-growing city, massive pockets of technology, AI, future transport.
We've got over £5 billion of investment. Now, that's a bit of a wake-up number for many investors. Some know where Northampton are, but they really do not understand the potential.
The highlights of the pavilion, I think, was when we launched our investment prospectus. Really great pictures from 5 of our projects and great interest in understanding our region, people wanting to be photographed next to our wonderful map on the wall and really understand the opportunities in this area.
We want to make sure that we're being seen as one, if not the most sustainable racetrack in the world, but obviously trying to make sure that we transit into a motorsports venue, into a destination.
All of our development there is beyond net zero and how we look at our construction. We look at our placemaking, so the whole site is integrated to that offer.
We have 22 billion of capital to deploy, and we also have 4 billion to invest in local authorities. We work across clean energy, digital, transport, waste and water.
The work that we do is really looking at how to engage communities actively in benefiting from green finance, because a lot of communities are in a place of surviving rather than thinking about net zero.
Greening finance is a lot of the activity we've seen to date, which is reporting, disclosures, transparency, taxonomies. So we need to think outside the box. And that can be challenging as a financial institution.
What we're trying to do with that fund is actually say, okay, we might take lower returns, but we'll do that on the basis that we can see more than the financial return. So let's take it off the balance sheet and start articulating those benefits. So that's one of the most exciting things that's happening in my space.
I'm energised by the fact that some brilliant people are bringing their own currency, their own organisations, their own personal leadership to this. Great. I'm also depressed though, because I just don't think we've moved this on quickly enough. We are way behind some of our North American colleagues, some of our Scandinavian colleagues and some of our Asian colleagues. And there is no reason for the UK, with the asset base that we've got, the ingenuity, the R&D and the ability to innovate, that we should be behind the rest of the world. So I'm mixed. But by the end of this panel, I'm going to feel completely energised, Alistair, and not depressed at all.